Hi, so today we're going to start Unit 6, which is over triangle congruence, which, if y'all remember the word congruence, that's basically saying two things are equal. So we're looking at triangles that are the same size, have the same side lengths, the same angles. And we're just going to play around for a little bit. So right here, I have two triangles side by side. And if you look, you can see that each side has a different marking, and you can see that same mark on sides on both triangles. So the first part of this lesson, because I guess there's technically like three parts of it, but they're pretty small. The first part is for us to do what's called writing a congruency statement. A congruency statement is a little mathematical writings. Well, it's not a sentence. It kind of looks like an equation, but it's a statement that says that this triangle is equal to that statement. Now, we could just say these two triangles are congruent, and they are, but in the math world, things can be a little more complicated at times. So first thing we want to do is look at this triangle here. Okay, I'm going to name this triangle. So I have a triangle, and sometimes it's just best to go in order. So we go from A, B, C. So we can call this triangle ABC. Okay, so I went from A, B to C. So I went counterclockwise, or I guess you could say to the left if that makes it easier. So I want to say triangle ABC is congruent to DEF. Now, the congruency mark is an equal sign with a little squiggle on top. It's kind of like a sideways S. So what I have written so far is that triangle ABC is congruent. Now, this first triangle here, you can put the letters in any order you want to. It's up to you. When we get over here, though, we have to match it up. I'll explain what that means in a second. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle. It's going to be this triangle, but we have to name it. But not only do we have to name it, but we have to name it so that everything matches up. So if we look at this triangle here, we went from A to B. So we went from A to B. And that has this congruency mark here, okay? So that means the first two letters we have to write over here also have to have that congruency mark between them. This one. So that would be D to E. So D, E, and of course our last letter left over is F. Now, if we did this correctly, things should match up pretty well. So A and B has the first mark, so does DE, and then B and C has the two marks, so does EF, so we're good there. And then we have A to C, which is the 3, and D to F, which is the 3. Okay. And if all the extra stuff is confusing, essentially what I did, let me get rid of some of these. In order for the congruency statement to be true, every angle, every side has to line up perfectly. So the first two letters here are AB, and AB forms this side that has the congruency mark with one line. So it means the first two letters here also have to have the same mark on it, that side of the triangle. So it's DE. Now, if you're confused if it's DE or ED, well, look at the next one. So BC, this next set of two letters has two marks. And EF does. So the EF has to be the last one. And typically they'll go in alphabetical order, but not always. So D, E, F. Now what this means is not only do we have all these sides are congruent, so AB is congruent to DE, BC, EF, AC, DF, all that, but it also means that my angles have the same relation. So angle A is congruent to angle D, angle B is congruent to angle E, and angle C is congruent to angle F. And again, we'll practice this a bit more. This is just the basics. The next thing we need to do for this lesson is work backwards. So in this one, I've given the congruency statement, and then we have to mark the sides. This is probably the easiest thing to do. We'll also mark the angles too, just to be thorough. So the first part here is AB. First there's A and B. So the side that has A and B, we're going to put one mark. Then we're going to go here to the side, the first letter is here, which is DE. So we'll put a mark on this side as well. Okay. Next two letters, BC, they'll get 2 marks. Over here we have EF, 2 marks. And then the third side, we'll just put 3 marks on. There's not really much reason to check that one because it's the only one left. And just like that, we have marked our sides as congruent. Now the last step, we want to mark the angles. So first letter of both is A. So that means, first letter, this one's A and then D. So A and D are congruent to each other. Then we want to look at angle B. It says the second letter here is E. And then that just leaves the last angle, which is C. And they're also, C and F are also the third letters, so they're also going to be congruent. So just like that, we went from the full thing to just marking, which if you don't understand why we're doing this, basically we're just doing this to show this is our way of knowing what in this triangle is equal to what. So we know that A should have the same angle measure as D, and also side BC should have the same length as EF. Again, we're going to practice it, but that's just the basics. Okay, so what I want to do here is I just want to mark the congruent sides, nothing else, just the sides. So QR are the first 2 letters, so they get a mark on that one. XY are the first 2 letters in this one, so it gets a mark. RS is the second one, so it gets 2 marks. YZ is the second one, so it gets 2 marks. And the last side gets 3. Boom, done. Also, if I would have said that QR is 5, which I guess I could match up the color, if side QR was 5, then XY would be 5. If SR was 4, YZ would be 4. And if QS was 3, so would XZ be. That's basically what those are meaning. All right, the next one, we're going to take a look at the angles. So the first letter of each shape, or each triangle, is T and L. So that means T gets marked with 1 hoop. So does L. So those 2 are congruent. They have the same measure. The next letter is U and M. So we got U and M. And then last one is V and N. Just like that, we've marked our angles. So to be honest, it's probably easier to go from the congruency statement to the shape and fill things out. But you also need to be able to go from the shapes with everything filled out to the congruency statement. All right. If you have any questions, just holler at me.